Okay, we are live. So, welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. I have a very special guest with me. I have another beautiful and talented young woman with me today. She was born in Durban. She's joining me today from Johannesburg, South Africa. She started acting at the age of 9, and by the time she was 15 years old, she performed as one of the lead singers in her school choir at the Pretoria State Theater. By age 16, she performed her first cabaret show at the Moonbox Theater. And by the age of 19, she was chosen to be one of the lead vocalists in the theater production Sexy in the City. So today, without further delay, I want to welcome Valeska Muller. Valeska, thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Tamarah, for having me. It's really nice to be here tonight for me. Today for you, night for me.
Yeah, it's dinner time, your time. So, but I want to just jump right in today, and because I know we wanted to cover a lot, I want to know what you remember listening to as a child. If music made any kind of impact on you as a child.
I think music was always my escapism as a child. So my parents loved music as well. So I was lucky enough that they introduced me to the best 80s and 70s bands that you can name, and name them. I've probably listened to them. And I remember one of my favorite bands were Fleetwood Mac and Dire Straits. And then my favorite Spanish band, was Latin band, was Gypsy Kings. And the music would always just transport me to a different dimension.
Wow. You know, I loved Dire Straits. When I was in college, my roommate would listen to them, and you're one of the first people that I've never had anybody mention them, and that makes me feel really great that you like them too. Yeah.
Oh my God, Mark Knopfler is like the best guitarist ever. He plays that instrument like his voice doesn't even matter because he speaks through that instrument. Like, it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
I know, I love Dire Straits and Fleetwood Mac too, so that's really great. Well, what's your earliest music like? You said your parents listened to music? Did they like more rock, or was it disco? Do you remember?
Yes, it was a mixture of a lot of different things. At that point of life, you only listened to what was playing on the radio, or if you had the vinyls. So I remember always my dad would play his vinyls, and he had so many different things that he listened to. But I think mostly it was quite commercial, I guess. But that's the things they listened to, I listened to. And I think it was not as much disco. It was more rock, definitely more rock. Right. My mom liked pop, though. She liked ABBA and Janis Joplin, which is rock. Yeah. And she loved a lot of those girly music, of course. So they listened to different music, but I loved all of it.
Were either your parents musically inclined? Were they musicians, or did they sing, or were they artists of any type? Or
yes, they were part of the church worship teams their entire lives. My mom does play the guitar, so we grew up with her always singing and playing guitar, and she made us sing in church since we were very young.
Oh, great. That's great. Well, I know also that you grew up in a military environment, and I read somewhere that was difficult for you, and I imagine it would be a little bit with the artistic side of you. I mean, I think it would be me. Was it hard to maintain relationships and feel grounded? I'm assuming you moved around a lot.
We moved tirelessly. It was very difficult. We moved every 6 months for a while. I was in so many different primary schools. I can't even remember how many I was in. And it's difficult because you always got to find a new school, find new friends, and then you get caught up with classwork, and it's tiresome. It was very tiresome, and I couldn't really, succeed in anything I did because I was always behind in schoolwork.
Right. Well, do you think any of that, because I always visualize it as being a very strict environment, do you think any of that gave you any kind of insight into being very more focused, I guess, or to develop more of a discipline, a stronger discipline?
Definitely. It makes you more punctual. It makes you more independent. You have to think for yourself, but also you've got to be respectful, and it's very, very strict. So you learn to be a very considerate human, I guess, and you always think about a situation in a different light, if I can say it like that. You don't just think about yourself, and you just do things to the best of your ability. That's what you get taught in being in that environment, because anything else is not good enough.
Right. Because I think it's very contradicts the typical life of a person in the arts. We're a little bit more
Yes.
carefree, and so it's the opposite of that. And so I can see where that would be a challenge.
Look, I'm a very, there's many sides to me because of the life I've lived. And I'm now much more carefree, but I still, when I wake up, I make my bed first thing. Then I make my coffee. I clean my kitchen. I'm an extremely clean person. So even though I'm like, sometimes it's messy, it's never dirty. So even though I can be creative and I can, rearrange my house and it's colorful and it's, it's still, it's got its place. So it's like this blend of a left brain and a right brain person that's come together, like over the years of me trying to find my artistic side and also still be disciplined, because it's still very important to be disciplined in things you do, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Exactly. Well, how old were you? Do you remember when people noticed that you had a talent for singing at all? And who was that, do you think, that noticed it first? Or?
My mom noticed it. We can all sing. I've got 3 siblings, older brother and 2 younger sisters, and we can all really sing well. So we've always been singing. My brother was just like, no, he's not singing, but he can sing. So my mom always made us like compete in competitions, and she really pushed me quite hard to go doing singing competitions. And I didn't want to do that because I was more into acting, but she forced me to start doing our Ster Vir, which is a local South African youth competition for the best of the best in the country. And I didn't want to do it because I didn't feel like I was good enough. But she pushed me. And then my choir teacher in high school, when they check your voices, they walk past all the choir members and they listen to like everybody singing if you can actually sing. And the one day he just stopped in front of me and he went, keep singing. And I was like, this is intimidating. And he like just stood there listening to me singing the song like everybody else was singing. And he's like, come Valeska, you are a new soloist. And that day he made me a soloist in the choir. And I was like, okay, well, now I have pressure coming from my mom, from the choir teacher. And I was like, maybe there is something there. Maybe I should just believe in myself and, just go for it and not be so scared, because I was very scared, because it's not out of my comfort zone, which is not a bad thing. And a few years passed, like 2 years later passed, and I won that competition overall and nationally. And I started winning every competition on high school level that I could do in my country. So it went well.
Wow. But you started acting at the age of 9, and that, I think that's very impressive. Was that mostly in school, or was there a little theater outside of that you?
So because we moved so much, we moved between different provinces. So it was hard for me I had this amazing drama coach. I had a private coach, and she would coach me every time I was back in the specific province called Pretoria. She was there. And I would only see her every 6 months or when I'm back. But she was incredible, and she really pushed my boundaries, and I adored my acting. So I actually had a private coach since I was 9 years old.
Right. And then when you were 15, you were or 16 really, you were in your first cabaret. Can you
Yes,
share
that was the same. Yes. So because of my life, I'm quite, I've got a, I was quite angry at the world because my life was so, difficult, and I just didn't find my feet, and I was always just angry because I didn't agree with many things that was going on in my life, and I didn't have a voice really to say how I was feeling about many things. But that cabaret, it's quite a dark and a deep, cabaret is very heavy. It's not like a light show. It's about talking about the difficult things in life. It's not a happy-go-lucky show. It's quite intense. And that show just showcased my emotion and getting out all these feelings, and really made me feel like there's a way to express myself. And it taught me so much about me and what I can do, and about people, because the people that watched the show would end up in tears, or would also be like, I feel the same way, and the show really touched my heart. And sometimes the things we do as singers and performers, they are difficult, because life is hard. Not everything is always going to be great and wonderful, and you need to showcase those parts of life, because people need to know that even now with this coronavirus and lockdown, it's hard, and it's okay, because that's just part of life.
Right. Well, you have been through a lot, and then when you were 19, you were chosen to be. That was when you were chosen to be the lead role. Is it sex? Your bio said "Sexy in the City." Is it the same as Sex in the City, the movie?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not the same. It's just called Sexy, and it's because they cast like sexy people. I don't know. I don't know why they chose that title, to be honest. I was so young. It was my first theater show. I mean, I just turned 19. I had no idea what I was getting into. I've not had any theater experience before. I didn't even study musical theater. I literally walked out of high school into a reality show, into a theater production, and it was just a lot for me to take in, and I did it. I rehearsed for 3 months, or how long ever we rehearsed, and on press night I was so excited to think like, wow, this girl with no training at all is booking these theater shows, and I was so excited to start my career. And it didn't happen like that. It was on press night, when everybody was there to watch the show, that evening, I was in a very bad accident. After the show, I went down to the garage area, and a gate that usually was open was closed, and I opened the gate so I could go home. And the 1.2 tons, it's a 1.2 ton steel gate, was loose, and it fell. It derailed. It wasn't fixed, and it fell on me, and it crushed me. I was in and out of hospital for a year recovering from that, and I broke my arms. They were off, and my head was crushed, and it was a lot of things happened. But it's been years, and I still have a bit of PTSD, which is normal for any trauma. I mean, I've worked through this for many years, but sometimes it just still gets triggered because it was such a traumatic experience in my life. But I worked very, very hard to, physically be okay again, because they told me that my left arm will never be able to work again. I won't be able to play guitar again, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. And I worked extremely hard, mentally and physically, to be okay, to be here where I am today.
Yeah, but that's amazing to me, because I mean, on the outside, certainly we don't see any aftermath of that, but you've got to be incredibly strong to go through that. What got you through that year of recovery? Do you remember that, how you pulled yourself through that?
To be honest, Tamarah, I didn't cope. I tried to commit suicide a few times. It was hectic. My body was just not the same anymore. My face was crushed. I wasn't pretty anymore. They had to shave off my hair because I had hectic stitches in my head, and the wounds on my head were so bad that they had to shave off my hair. That was so traumatic for me, and the pain that I was going through, the morphine helped, but it didn't help my mental state. I had to be hypnotized. I saw a psychiatrist like once a week, and that helped. Actually, that guy helped me a lot. Those sessions, and they put me on like medication to help me. And I must say, and I'm saying this because mental health is so important and people struggle with this all the time. At some point, you need help. Like, you can't do it by yourself. And at that time of my life, it was too much for me, and I couldn't help myself. And it was a very dark time in my life, but that helped me get through it. But when I went off the meds and I stopped seeing the psychiatrist and the psychologist and everybody else I was seeing, I had to really put in the work to get back to finding myself and building up my strength. And then the music and dancing, you know, even though my body was broken, and just getting back into the stuff I love really helped me to cope with what I've been through. And I just worked very hard on my mental health, because that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, you've made an amazing recovery. And if you had to say what you took away from that tragedy, how did that make the biggest impact on where you are today, would you say?
I think it showed me how painful life could really be. Like, it showed me that this side of life, like literally becoming a rising star, and then how quickly that can just be taken away from you in a blink of an eye. And that you cannot put your worth in your talent, in your fame, in your job, in anything that's materialistic, because at the end of the day, your life can change in a split second. And it made me just value my relationships and life to a point where I realized that I can die tomorrow or whenever, and you cannot know. Like, I never saw that coming. And just to really be present and try to be a nice, kind person as much as you can be, but you have to deal with your stuff before you can actually be nice and kind. Yeah, so I just think that relationships are very important. And the people that you have in your life and the love you give them is more important than anything else this world can give you.
Right. Well, I think it also shows how much courage you have and how much bounce back power you have, because you didn't quit. You may have thought about it during those really bad times, but I think it shows what a remarkable, strong woman you are. And so I'm glad you pulled through all that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamarah. I really appreciate it.
Well, when you began to sing, I think you kind of answered this, you hired a vocal coach. Was it right away when you were, it sounded like you did that when you were a kid, or did your parents say that?
So when I started doing all these competitions, my mom took me to this coach in Pretoria. That's like a group lesson thing, and they were doing like opera, like operatic style, which is not really my thing. And when I walked into the class, they were all going, oh, and I was like, this is not my vibe. And I look at my mom going, what have you done? I would never, Mom, what are you thinking of me? Like, this is not the dream, you know? So she did try, but even she was like, okay, my child, you're only going to just finish this month because I've paid for it, but it's fine, we'll cancel. And then I never found anybody again. I already was working professionally before I had any training. So I only realized when I was doing full-blown theater at the age of 21. I did a big theater show. After my accident, I took a year off, and then I did a year of dancing. And then after that, I went and I did theater. And I got cast in as one of the 4 lead vocalists in a show called Girl Talk, which is a very popular, big show in South Africa. And there I was struggling every night, singing and not having technique and breathing control. I didn't know anything of it. And there was a coach in the audience that she saw that I was struggling, you know, and she said to me, you know that you're not breathing right, you're not, you know, you do scales, do you know? And I was like, what are you talking about? I just sing. And she's like, your voice is going to be gone because you're not doing any of the stuff right. And doing theater is like a full-blown workout every single night. You have to have the best technique for vocal health. And then I got a coach, and since then I've had a coach. Since I was 21, I've always had different coaches. I've been training with people overseas at Kent Vocal Academy in California, actually via Skype. I've done a lot of different courses just to maintain and grow my vocal ability every year.
Right. Do you think that's important for every singer to always have a vocal coach, you know, or do some kind of go in and out of that? You have one for a while and not? Because I know you teach, you have your vocal academy.
Yes.
So
A coach just really teaches you discipline, and you know that you're seeing your coach. You've got to be on par. You can't mess around. So when you get a bit lazy, when you know, oh, I'm not, you know, I'm going to do it by myself, and you sort of procrastinate. So I think a coach really helps you be focused, and they know more than you. There's a reason why they are a coach, because they know a lot about the voice, the mechanism of the voice, how it works. And I must say, my coaches have really made such a difference to my mindset and my voice, knowing that I can do these things. Like I was like, I can't do that. And they showed me, no, you can. It's going to take 2 years. And they've been honest. And I'm also honest with my students. I'm like, if you want to sing this song, if you want to do those runs, you have to train. It's going to take you 2 years. It's not a quick fix. Sometimes up to 7 years. It depends on what you want to do. Like, what do you want to sing? Do you want to sing like Mariah Carey? It'll take you your entire life, maybe sometimes. It depends on what you want to do. But I must say, a coach for anything in your life makes all the difference, because it helps you, because they do know more than you know.
right. Now, have you had say a mentor throughout your career on and off? And when I say that, I mean, it doesn't always even have to be someone you talk to, or just someone that helps you continue to encourage you, that person, that go-to person when you're going through rough patches. Do you have a mentor like that, not a vocal coach, but just someone that encourages you to push through those obstacles? Who do you go to? Or
I think my obstacles, sometimes they just in my mind. Like sometimes I just need somebody to tell me that, Valeska, you've gone through this, like you've survived that. And that's usually my mom or my dad. That I phone them because they know what I've been through, and they just remind me that if I can do that and I could survive this, then this thing that I'm facing, it's just another a little bump in the road. It's not always a mountain. So, but I've had many other people, like friends in the industry and my own friends and my sister as well. She's always there for me. If I want to talk to her, she's always on my side. So I think it comes down to having somebody that really knows you and understands you, and that wants the best for you. And sometimes you don't like to hear what they have to say, but it's good to know that there's people that are really looking out for you, no matter what you want. It's not always what you want. It's not always what you need.
Yeah, that's true. Well, who have been some of your influences, like singers as well as even actors that have influenced you in some way?
So everybody always says Meryl Streep, but she is just incredible. And also Julia Roberts. I grew up with these actresses, so that's what as a youngster, that's what I, thought, wow, look at these incredible actresses. And I grew up with Star Wars, so I loved those, like it's like what I grew up with. And I just like it was so weird, like it was so out of the norm, watching those things. It made me dream and made me want to be like that, like living these different lives as an actress. But singing wise, I've had a local singer called Roer Jou. She really sings about beautiful topics, and she made our language just sound so beautiful. And then internationally, I mean, when I was 16, Britney Spears was at her peak, and she was just Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. They were just like The Voice. This one had The Voice, and this one had The Moves. And I was like, can I just be both of them, like together? Like they inspired me to just be, because they're incredible, both of them in their own right. And then Beyonce, obviously, and Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. And then later, as I grew older, I found Ster Mclaughlin, and she is just one of my favorite songwriters of all time. Like her music is just so beautiful. Like she just sings so easy and it's just so peaceful. I've had so many different inspirations and influences in my life. Like I can go on the whole night just talking about that. So I'll stop now.
Oh no, that's okay. Well, I'm glad that you have it. Do you like to dance when you perform?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm a performer.
That's good though.
When I do theatre, when I did barnyard shows, there's like this franchise in South Africa called the Barnyard Shows, and I did a few shows for them. It's like a fun, more like not a strict theatre. It's more like a fun, like it's like in a barn, like it's like really cool vibes. And on those stages, they would just be like, just do what you do, Valeska. Like they give me a hat or a chair or a mic stand, and I just do whatever I do. And every night, it would be different because I just love being on stage, and something just happens to me when I'm on stage. I don't even know what happens. I just turn into this person that can do these things I don't even rehearse, and I miss it. I love it, and I miss it. Oh.
Well, going back to the acting, did have other acting? I know you did some film. Can you share a little bit about that experience? And
so I've done quite a few local TV shows where I was the guest artist, because to do acting is also a full-time job, and because I'm running a vocal academy and I'm doing my album and I'm in studio, I'm actually a full-time singer now. I had to choose between the two because they both take up they full-blown jobs. You've got to pick one and focus on one for a while, and then you can go back to the other one when you get the right script or the right thing that suits your character or what you feel like is really gonna be good for you as a brand. But I've done a few shows. I've done a lot of, like, I think I've done 5 different TV shows locally. So yeah, I'm not gonna say what because people won't know what, like what it is. But it's like a famous local soapie called Binnelanders. I played 2 different roles in that over the years. And I did a show, Generations is also like a local TV soap where I was a dance instructor. And then I did I was a guest artist at a show called Roer Jou Voete, where I was a criminal that escaped. Yeah. So I've done many different things, but I really enjoyed it. I must say, it challenges me to a different level because you've got to really get out of your mind. You've got to try something totally different. It makes you very creative, and you've got to really think about the character.
Was it fun playing a criminal? I would think that would be kind of neat to play something totally out of character.
It was totally out of character. Shame, this woman was she was a bit of a ditzy character, and she wasn't pretty, or she was nowhere, and she was trying to play like her cards with the police officer, and he's like this dodgy looking Portuguese guy, and then she ends up kissing him and she falls in love with him. It was so funny. Like, I've had to kiss some interesting characters in the acting. It has been very challenging to actually like be in love with this person you would never in your life even like date.
Yeah, I think that would be faking passion. I guess that would be hard, I think. But you obviously were good at it. So. But you also write songs, and I read that one of your songs was a theme song for a television program. How did they discover your song for that?
Okay, so it's actually not one of my songs. They actually asked me to write a total new song for this program.
Oh.
So they gave me ideas, and they gave me the title, and they said, this is what the show is about. This is sort of what it's going to look like. And I had to write it from like not even knowing if they're going to like it. So that was also a different challenge for me to write outside of who I am or anything I would, necessarily want to write for me. I had to really write for the program itself. And it was such a nice challenge because we got it right. We sat and we really watched the previous shows and we tried to get into it and like the vibe. And yeah, and then I wrote the song and they liked it, and it's on YouTube. It's called A Ster Vir My Bed.
It's called
it was A Ster Vir My Bed. That's Afrikaans.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to have to find that and put it in the event page there for people to hear. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, you like writing? Do you enjoy that part of your industry, or, you know, writing the music?
Yes, writing is so therapeutic, and sometimes it comes quickly. The lyrics come quickly. Sometimes it takes a while to really get it down, like to get into the emotions and to translate it in the right way. But it's been one of the best things in my life to be able to communicate my life through my music. You know, it's not somebody else writing about my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really me committing to understanding music, because music is like maths. You can't just write a song and think it's going to make sense. It's got to make sense in the structure of the rhythm and the chord structure. It's not as easy as people think it is. Like I hear many people say, "Oh, all the best songs are written in like 3 chords." Yes, but it's more complicated than that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I can't even imagine writing a song. But does the tune in your head come first, the melody or whatever, or do the lyrics come first usually? And then how do you make them meet?
So it's both of those, but I think for me, specifically for my album that I wrote, my symphony album, which is my Afrikaans album that I wrote over 2 years, and I launched it last year. For this specific songwriting project, we had to focus on the markets we're trying to target and to make sure that we don't stray too far away from, you know, what people like to listen to in the Afrikaans industry, which is very focused mindset. And Afrikaans is a very small language, so you only have that many words to write in, which makes it quite difficult. And so the focus on this was to really make it very melodic. So even though I usually would write an idea, like I'd write a few like lines that I think could work, usually the way you write would totally change when the melody and the phrasing comes in. So you might write down a concept, but as soon as the melody and the structure comes in, all of that changes. So the best way to usually write is to have a melody in place, or just a nice little beat that usually helps you to structure your phrasing right. And then songwriting goes much quicker, I've learned over the years.
Wow. Well, how is music different in your country, would you say, than here in the States? Because a lot of the people you named are in this country. Is it, or what, then maybe just the whole music industry in South Africa? It's like just even the places you perform and going to clubs. Is it?
Tamarah, honestly, I think in America, you guys are 50 times bigger than we are. Like you're like a continent, you know, like you're massive. I mean, so your following, and English is an international language. So the following and the amount of people that listen to the music in America is so much bigger. That people really go support music like all the time, and they respect artists. In this country, I just want to give a shout out to all my fellow singers and performers and bands, because they are just as talented as the Americans or the Europeans or anybody else for that matter. There's so much talent in this country, and we don't have maybe the biggest platforms for showcasing those talents, but it doesn't make us any less talented. It just doesn't give us the opportunity to showcase the amazing, you know, songs and music and the culture that we have, because we also have Kwaito, which is something that is a cultural thing for the you know, the black people love Kwaito. That's like their music. And then we've got the Afrikaans music, which is also quite traditional and very different to the English music, which is more international. And Kwaito and Afrikaans are the two biggest like niche industries in this country. And the music, even I love Kwaito. Like I can get down and dance and I can have a ball with my, like, I love it, you know. And then the Afrikaans music is it's my culture, it's my tradition, it's like sort of just what I, you know, what I know. But it doesn't make it less good. It's just very different to anything that you guys are used to, obviously.
Oh no, I've interviewed many people in South Africa, and I continue to do that because your country has some amazingly talented people, and that's one of the reasons I like to keep bringing different people on, because in my research I found some actors, and I actually watched a couple movies that were South African movies, and I enjoyed it. I just did the subtitles, and lots of artists. You have a lot of talented people, so I think you deserve to get more exposure for sure in this country as well. So that's one of the reasons I keep on social media looking for more artists there, because you do have a lot of talent, and I know it is different there. And so you're very talented, and I can't remember how I found you. I think I told you I was just Googling stuff, and I still am trying to remember the video I saw of you singing, and I was like, wow, she has a beautiful voice. She's beautiful. She's talented. I want to interview this woman. So yes, you are very talented. So just
thank you.
Keep it up. And while
I was so shocked when I got your message. I was like, what is happening? This woman has this thick American accent. I'm like, this is amazing. She wants to interview me. I'm like, sure. I'm keen. Let's do it.
Oh no, I love the arts. I grew up in the art. I mean, I grew up in the arts, and my parents were not artists, but they had my mom. I heard some of her music from records she had at her parents' house, and my dad liked classical. My mom had some rock music there, and then I've always loved art, like paintings, and so I've been exposed a lot. So I really appreciate the arts, and my parents, just were a big pivotal point for. I give them a lot of credit for the exposure. So I love the artists in your country. And while we're on the subject of your album, am I saying it right? Symphony?
My Symphony.
My Symphony. Yes.
But it's my is English. As you can say My Symphony, which is English, but My Symphony is Afrikaans.
Okay, Afrikaans.
I actually have it. Yeah, I've got it. Oh, actually, I don't know if you can see.
Prettig. I say it's prettig. That means beautiful, right? It's prettig.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, prachtig.
I know.
And this is another thing that we do in this country. We have to still do. We've got to print hard copies, which is actually not something you do anymore. But in this country, people still want to have the CD in their hands, it's quite crazy.
No, I think it's good. I miss that. I wish we would get. I liked vinyl. I wish that would come back.
Oh, I love vinyls. Oh, yeah. It's such a vibe. I don't know, something about a vinyl. It's just special. The sound.
Oh,
I don't know, something about the sound is just so beautiful.
I know people that are doing it today don't have any idea what they're missing. But in your album, I want you to talk a little bit about the inspiration behind it. Was it, if you can share that, if that makes sense?
So I started with my English EP 3-4 years ago, and I thought, okay, I want to be I'm going to sing English. I don't really feel like Afrikaans is where I want to, the channel I want to go, because I've got these massive dreams, and I just feel like the Afrikaans industry is very close-minded about the things I wanted to do back then, and I didn't want to do the type of music that the Afrikaans people wanted to listen to, and it just wasn't right for me at that point. So I decided I'm going to just sing English, and I started working on my English EP. And we wrote about 7-8 songs. I released 4 of them, and then I stopped. I didn't release the other 3 of the songs because I just felt like even that wasn't flowing. I was trying too hard, and I didn't feel like it was really me, and I was sort of losing where I was going. And I was like, I have to rethink things and take a bit of a step back and just, sit with myself and really feel like, what do we feel like we want to do? We don't just do something because we're doing it.
Right.
And the one day I was actually at a lodge. I performed at this beautiful lodge out of town, and I was sitting the next morning having a cup of coffee, and my producer sent me this this music. And I put my earphones on and I sipping my coffee, watching the beautiful Johannesburg mountains, and the song came on. And I was like, goosebumps. And I'm like, whoa. And the lyrics just came to my mind. And I was like, what is happening? And the lyrics were in Afrikaans. And in that moment, I knew I'm going to start writing my Afrikaans album. And my whole life just changed. And for 2 years, we just started working on it. So he just would send me music and I would send him ideas. And we wrote an 18-track album. We were only going to do an EP, and we actually wrote an 18-track album.
Wow.
Which is almost a double album. And that was the inspiration. It was my producer just sent me this. His name is Big T. He sent me this insane piece of music, and it just changed my entire mind about writing in my mother tongue. And I'm so glad I did it, because it's such a big part of me. I mean, I'm Afrikaans, and I'm glad I did it, because we did write very progressive music that's not really been done in the Afrikaans industry.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, was some of the is it some of your life experiences in there, or?
Oh, so many, like
everything.
There are so many emotions in this album. Like there's angry, there's abuse, there's falling in love, there's finding your soulmate, there is losing the love of your life. There's so many things that I've been going through the last 2 years that that's all in that album. There's one about like, you know, that song that goes, "You're so vain." It's very similar to that song. It's just in Afrikaans, you know, because I had this guy that I was just think he's like the best thing ever, and he wasn't. And I wrote a song about that. So anything in the last 2 years that triggered me, I was just writing. So
right. Well, is there a South African singer that you are influenced by? I know you mentioned some American, but is there anybody in your country that has been a big influence? Or
mostly it's international people. I mean, there's some great singers here. It's just it's mostly been international people, because the bar is set so high overseas, and that's where you wanna really keep on growing, you know. And we're still learning from what we hear and see. So there is some incredible singers in this country, but mostly I don't want to compare myself, because that's sort of my competition, if you want. So I don't really focus on so much local as I probably should. I just focus on myself, and I try to always expand my creativity and to be innovative, to not focus too much on what's happening right now. And also I'm a perfectionist, and I'm quite competitive, and I can be quite critical over myself. So if I keep watching what everybody else is doing, then I don't grow, and I also compare myself, and then it's not good for me. So I try to stay away from as much as I possibly can from what's really going on here, so I can focus on what can I do that's outside of the box. But you know who's my biggest inspiration right now is actually Sia. I think she's just incredible. Like, Sia she's 45 now, I think, or whatever. She started her career so much later. She writes these most incredible, encouraging songs, and I would love to work with her.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Well, you've performed at some of the biggest festivals in your country. What has been the most memorable experience, I guess, that's whether it's acting or singing or both?
There's been so many. Definitely singing at the KAKNK. It's a big Afrikaans festival. When I think I was 25. That was quite an experience. But the biggest and the most amazing feeling I've had was when I sang in Mauritius at Lux Lair Monet at this 5-star resort, where it was international people from all walks of life, and I was singing in this beautiful place overlooking the ocean, and people were enjoying it. And it just showed me that music really is a universal language, because some of them didn't even understand English, but they understood exactly what I was singing. And that was just one of the highlights of my life, to show me wherever you go, doesn't matter what language you speak in or sing in, music really does, it crosses boundaries. It makes people just come together.
It does. Yes, the universal language for sure. Is there, if there was anywhere in the world you could perform, where would it be? Oh, like, do you
Wembley
have
Stadium.
a
You know, I mean, any of those big stages, but now with the coronavirus going on, I mean, nothing's happening till next year. So,
I mean,
yeah,
even
I
down
think
the road, just anywhere in your lifespan, where would be your dream place?
I would love to go to Europe, and I don't know what that place is called where they have those massive festivals. I just went blank, but there's many places that I would want to, you know, go perform at. But before I do that, I have to write a #1 single so that I can actually go and get invited to sing on these massive platforms. But I would love to be on all those big stages. I would love to be at, you know, the biggest platforms you can possibly think about. That probably when I get there, there will be other platforms, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. But for now, I've got to, you know, tour with my album locally, and hopefully I get #1 song off of this album, and that will really help me to perform at all the biggest festivals when we one day again can perform. As you can see, I'm not really sure what's happening in this world because of coronavirus, but
Yeah.
it's definitely my biggest passion is to perform. So I want to be on all the biggest stages that you can possibly perform at eventually.
Right. Well, one of my singers that I interviewed a couple years ago mentioned how the music finds you, not the other way around, meaning finds your voice. And I guess in other words, you know, your voice is geared toward a certain type of music. Did you find that to be true when you first started singing? Did your voice just kind of tell you what type of music you should be singing, or?
Look, your instrument, it does suit a certain genre if you don't train your voice. I mean, and sometimes the music you write, if you're a songwriter and you write your own music, then obviously that is sort of where you will be. That is what you will sing, because you're writing it for you. So that's almost easier than doing cover songs. Because when you start doing cover music, you have to be really exceptional, because you've got to sing a lot of different genres and then still make it your own. And because I've been training for so many years, one of my biggest challenges for me was to be able to sing almost anything in the original key. And if it doesn't work in the original key, if it's a guy singing, you've got to drop the key down or up. But to be able to make those songs your own it's hard. But I do think that certain genres do fit certain voices better, and you should just actually stick to that. It makes it easier. But if you then write your own music and you know sort of what you like singing, it helps you to know what lane you should be in musically.
Right. No, I think so. That makes a lot of sense, for sure. What do you love most about everything that you do? The acting, the singing, the writing, music. What would you say is, I'm sure you love it all, but is there something that you enjoy the most out of all that?
It's the release of being able to sing, you know, in the evenings to myself. I'll put on my sound system and I'll pick a song that I feel resonates with me in that moment. And I will really just sing, and it's so therapeutic for me to release those emotions. And I do it because I really do enjoy it. I love it. And it's not always about impressing people, or it's not about showcasing your talent, or music is not about getting something all the time. It's sometimes just about listening and just forgetting about everything. And you just can really be in the moment. And that's very important for me. I think I enjoy that about music and about my singing mostly, is that I can, and it doesn't matter what I sound like, it just makes me feel so much emotion, and my soul and my heart and everything just comes alive. And it just makes life much easier, I guess, you know, to cope with.
Right. Well, you've come an incredibly long way from I know all the obstacles that you faced, and I'm so glad that you pulled through. And you have a beautiful voice, and you need to keep on that and keep blessing the world with your voice. And have you ever performed in the United States?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
but I would love to.
Yeah, well, I know, and I want you to come here because I definitely want to photograph you for sure. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to make that happen. But we're making good time today, Valeska. So I'm excited. I'll be able to put this on IGTV as well. Is there any? I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been really great hearing your story, and I'm glad you were able to open up and share all your obstacles, because I think it's very encouraging to other people. We all go through difficult times. Is there anything else that you want to announce or mention? Are you going to be working on a new album, or?
I don't think I'll be working on anything right now because of the circumstances, and we don't working right now. So the income, and I've got a lot of things that I've got to work through right now, and my focus is not really in a songwriting mode, and it's not yet. Maybe I will. I mean, sometimes it just the inspiration comes. But what I want to say is to people out there that it is hard right now, and it is tough, and we could not foresee what's happening externally now in the world. I mean, it's hard for everybody in every country. There's something that we all have to cope with. But I just want to say that internally you can really make sure that you are in control of your thoughts, because at the end of the day, the things that you think and you believe really do manifest in your life. And even though you can't control the outside, you can try your best to just deal with all the nonsense that's inside of your heart and your mind. Get it out of your system any way you have to. If you run, you sing, if you act, if you paint, if you do photography, do whatever you can to keep your spirit and your heart and your soul on a high, because we need this more than ever now for people to just try to stay, in a good mental state and positive.
Oh, well, that's great advice, and I totally agree with you. The power of our thoughts really do dictate what goes on in our lives. And so I'm glad you were here. One thing we didn't mention, though, really is your website, ValeskaMuller.com, because I know you do teach voice lessons. So
yes, I do.
Yeah, so people can just visit there and find you for that. You do that via the internet, kind of, or?
Yes, I do video calls now because we have to. So I do video call lessons, which is very possible. And yeah, my students are all very talented and incredible, and it's something I really enjoy, like giving back, and just the reward of seeing the students grow, and just the way they change because of the music. And it's like counseling, music is teaching. It's like really, it's more like counseling than actually it's being a singing coach. So I really invest in my students, and I want them to feel that I really care for them, and I'm in their team, like I'm on their side, and they know that because I'm there for them. And every single student is like a puzzle that I sort of put together as I get to know them, and I really enjoy that. I love coaching.
Oh, well, that's good. That's another passion, and that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again. Don't hang up. We'll say our goodbyes after we go off air, Valeska. But I want to thank the viewers for your continued support, and join us next week in Tamarah's Closet, because I will be interviewing Dr. Richard Bedlack. He is joining me from Duke, North Carolina, from Duke Hospital. And he's going to be sharing a little bit about how he fashionably fights ALS. And so I'm very excited to hear his story. So share the replay of this interview on all your social media sites, and to each of you's own success. Keep on living and keep on rocking it. And take care. Okay.